Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shadel Kadeem. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you the reasons I stopped going to church. I grew up in church. I've been going to church from my idea of me. If you're Jamaican, you know what that means. If you're non-Jamaican, it means from you were young, from that time, from birth, from before birth. I was born in a Christian family, and so I've been socialized and cultured to believe in Jesus Christ, to attend the church, to be a part of the church family, to fellowship, and the importance of coming together and fellowshipping. As I said, I grew up learning most of what I know from being a part of the church. I absolutely love my church family. But a lot changed in 2020 when I became a mom. In 2020, there was the birth or the dawn of COVID-19, and like everybody else in the world, we got skeptical about doing anything at all, going anywhere. There were lockdowns all over the world. People were scared to be around anybody else, to be in public spaces, to go out, to leave their homes. Naturally, this would have also impacted or affected how mothers treat the situation, how mothers, go about socializing their own children. One of the things I can recall or remember from growing up was that my pastor used to have a switch beside him while we were in church, while we were growing up. And so if any one of us got up and were running around in church, he would pick up the switch. I don't recall ever getting a slap from pastor growing up. I guess because I was considered to be one of the well-mannered ones. But then again, it goes back to defining what Jamaicans consider or church folk in general. Now, I'm not putting everybody in one big bundle. I am just generalizing for the context and for the purpose of this video. Because I know that over time, a lot of churches or church families or denominations have evolved, and so their approach to this, even in Jamaica, is different. But as I was saying, I can recall that being one of the main means of disciplining children while they were in church. And for us as children, it was just that, you needed to be quiet, you needed to sit still, or behave yourself in church, or else the switch is right around there. And I think this is something that also defines traditional Jamaican parenting. Now, I'm not saying that if you choose to discipline your child by spanking them, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. To each his own. And not even my mother or my grandmother or my daughter's paternal grandparents or relatives can really dictate to us how exactly they think our daughter should be raised. And especially because we are first-time parents, there's a lot that we are learning ourselves. There's a lot that, yes, we have taken from how we have been raised, but at the same time, I believe there are so many things that I really don't want to do or don't want to adapt. So what I was trying to do just now is just give you a background or backdrop or a foundation on which I'm going to be basing this discussion. So I just shared with you particularly how I recall us being disciplined while we were growing up in the church. Attending a traditional church, and especially back in the day, as I said, we used to have Sunday school, we still have Sunday school, but there was nowhere really for the infants or the babies. And by that I mean outside of a kind of classroom setting. Now, if you think about it even now, when you think about preschool, how they are set up, or the really good preschools, there is a classroom setting of some sort so that it prepares them for the school setting to come when they start kindergarten. But by and large, it is a space where they can be themselves. They are still learning so much at that age, and so I don't believe it is a space. Church is a space or what some denominations would consider the setting of going into fellowship, because the church is really the people. But you know what I mean. The church, I don't believe, is adequately equipped in some spaces or in some denominations to facilitate children, to facilitate toddlers, especially a 2-year-old like my daughter. I'm allowing Naya to rule me. Now, by now you should know, or you may know, how I feel about people giving their opinions on how I raise my child. One thing I've come to accept or appreciate is that I can't control what people think or say. I think it's best for some people to not say anything at all, but I can't control people's actions. What I can control is how I react to it, how I process it, and what I do with that. However, I allow it to impact me. And so at that time, when he made the comment, of course, I disagree. I don't allow my daughter to rule me, but here's what happened at the time. So it was Children's Sunday, or that Sunday where we allow the kids to pretty much take over the whole service. It's usually so fun. It's usually so, inspirational, and it's just a joy to watch the kids do pretty much everything, even up to the point of sharing the word. That's really how I was groomed into being the type of person I am. All of that training came from the church. Absolutely love my church. Anyways, at the point, what was happening was that Naya takes her nap around 11 a.m. almost every day. For that particular Sunday where the children take over, I think church starts like around 10, which means within an hour or less, she will be tired and ready for her nap. What happens when she's tired and ready to sleep? She gets overly active, overly annoyed, overly anxious. To some persons, it may seem as though she's being naughty or rude, but for us as her caregivers, we know that that's a sign that she's ready for her nap. And what happened was, as we got closer to that time, she said to me, "Mommy, I want to go to the park." Now, my basic school is pretty close to my church. It's just a few blocks down the road. And so she recalled us going there some time ago, and she said she wants to go to the park. And I knew that at that point she really, really wanted to. She hadn't gone to anywhere like that in quite a while, because we were home for the most part during the week. And so she ran outside. When she ran outside, there was another little boy out there, Joshua. Joshua was out there running up and down. Joshua and Naya, their birthdays are a few days apart, and so they're two toddlers, 2-year-olds, and they were outside running up and down, having the time of their lives. They're 2 years old, and I was out there with them for a while. And after a while, I saw Naya running to the gate. I had to run her down. When I ran after her, she said to me, "Mommy, let's go to the park." And she was pulling, and I just said, "Okay, let's go." And so we walked down to the school. She actually led the way because she knew exactly where she was going. And so we went down there. She was so excited to be there. She went on the slides. She identified the pictures on the walls of the Jamaica flag, the Jamaica map, the letters, the colors, the numbers. She wanted us to swing together. You want to see him? Look at the cow, look. He got up. See him around there? And so we went in the swing, and we were having so much fun. We went on the seesaw, and we were there just having fun, allowing her to be a child, to be a toddler, to do the things she loves to do at that age. And then after a while, I said, "All right, it's time to go. We have to go up now." And by then, in truth and in fact, she wasn't fully ready, but she would have gotten enough time to have some fun. And I was able to, what should I say now? Make a deal with her. We were able to work something out, and we were both happy in the end. So I said to her, "We've been here quite a while, and I think by now you need some water. We're tired and we're sweaty, and we need to go get some rest and relax a bit." And she said, "Okay, Mommy." And then we went back up to church. When we went back up, it's at that point that the brother said to me, mind you, he didn't say it in a disrespectful way, and I honestly know that it wasn't coming from a place of disrespect, as I said, or in any way meaning to hurt me or so. But I think it also goes back to how we are cultured. And so he said to me, yeah, make sure you rule you, man, yeah, make sure you rule you. And I was saying, no, I don't think that's the case. I just really allowed her to go because she hasn't gotten the chance to really go and experience something like that in quite a while. And I just left it at that. I didn't start an argument, obviously not, especially we were in church, and I wanted to go in to catch what we could catch for the rest of the service. And then she fell right asleep like 5 minutes after that. And I was saying to myself that while I absolutely respect and understand the importance of children, learning some sort of structure, which is, I believe, the purpose for schools and church, and you have your Sabbath school and your Sunday school, I think it's also important for us to learn and know what kind of child we are raising, understand how they react in particular situations, understand how they act when they're anxious, when they're tired, what is really appropriate for them at what age, and understanding that even with a group of children or a group of toddlers being all 2-year-olds, they are all different 2-year-olds. And so we have to be patient and understanding, even in the church setting, where for some of us it is about, all right, we're in church, we need to be reverent in the name of Jesus, Holy Ghost. And then we totally forget that we're humans, especially for toddlers who are still understanding the world. My daughter has been here only a little over 2 years. There's so much for her to understand and appreciate. I'm going to, of course, instill certain things, but at the same time, I believe I need to find a common ground, because she still needs to be the toddler she is. She still needs to learn and grow in that kind of environment that, facilitates her growth. But as I said, I need to find that common ground, and regardless of what anybody else has to say, we are going to stick to that. So there are times when even our parents suggest certain things. We're not going to be disrespectful, but depending on the type of parenting that we've decided to exercise, right, in terms of raising our daughter, there's a lot that we will think about. And so, no, I haven't backslidden. I still believe that Christ came and died for my sins. I'm still a Christian. We are still Christians. We still believe in God, and we still believe in the church and the importance of the church. But I don't go as often. I don't attend church as often, particularly because of this, because it makes me very uncomfortable when there are a few people who are saying, let the pitney make you run up and down, make you be a child. But at the same time, even though some of those same people are saying, let the penny stop run up and down, so I'm like, what's going on here? And sometimes, most times, it is expected that I'll be, a part of the praise team. I'm originally a part of the praise team, and so when I'm home, I would naturally be a part of the praise team. Take, for example, those Sundays when I'm a part of the praise team. It's crazy if there's nobody else there who is watching or managing or holding Naya. It's a whole chaos. I can't focus on praise and worship because she's running up and down all over the place, or she's running up and down outside. I need to know that she's okay. No, I'm not saying there aren't caring persons in the church. There are a lot of persons who helped to raise me through the church, who I absolutely love and appreciate and adore. What I'm saying is there needs to be in each of our churches a kind of structure that ensures that, or gives the parent that assurance that the child is okay and the child is still being able to be a child while in church. So as I say, you have some of those persons who will be saying, let the child make run up and down and have fun, yada yada. But there's those same persons or some other persons are like, this pitney not have no behavior. Why this pitney can't sit down, up and down? And then for some of them, as I said, or for a lot of them, a lot of persons in Jamaica, they believe in either slapping the child, sit down. No, tell me no. The child, after a while, is so confused because they're expected to be a child, but then you're slapping them and telling them to sit. I just think it's a whole ball of confusion for them. And so I think if we can, in our traditional churches especially, who haven't adopted this kind of practice just yet, to have that sort of system where you have a group of persons who are responsible for the babies, not just Sabbath or Sunday school, where you have them sitting in the class. That's for kids who have already started school and know how a classroom setting is what it's like. And they'll be able to sit down and be attentive and learn the lessons. But for the babies, they need a separate room where they can play and color and maybe watch some Bible stories on a screen or something like that. But there are also parents I know who have left their home churches because of this particular thing, not just in Jamaica. Someone shared with me recently, she lives in the UK, that when their 4 kids were younger, they used to get the cold shoulder all the time. They used to get the, kind of look when the kids are crying down the place or running up and down in church and this sort of thing. I won't even speak to the churches who don't ever have a place where you can go and even change a baby and that sort of thing. I just think that in this day and age, for example, my church, we have a bench out on we call it the porch, or like the veranda, that area where you can go there and you can sit with the child, right? And for me, it works for kids up to a particular age, because when I go out there with Naya, by the time we reach out there, Naya, like a bullet, back in the church or right outside. You think I can be up there doing praise and worship, being a part of the praise team, and being comfortable knowing that Naya's out there running up and down or something of that nature? No. So I say all of this to say that for me, it is so much work mentally when I go to church, when we go to church, when I attend church with Naya. It is something that she will absolutely need to experience while she grows up, because of our beliefs. We are Christian. We do believe that you should grow up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, and she absolutely will. And at home, we are doing our best in terms of instilling those values in her. But I also believe in the value of fellowship and then being a part of the system. And so I'm hoping and praying that more traditional churches will, put something in place that will help to facilitate children, toddlers, parents, and starting from that level of understanding that we are humans. We're also spiritual, but we're also human. And we need to be looking at that side of it as well, while we evolve as churches, as Christians, as Christian communities, as spaces, as work. And when we talk about workplaces, we're talking about the church today, right? Amen. We're talking about the church today. So I am just saying, it is something Dr. Bird, it is something I know I will have to work on mentally, and I am working on mentally. I am not there yet, and that is the reason I don't attend church physically every single Sunday. Now I know things are kind of changing back to normal now, so it is more likely that people will be attending church physically, which is why I'm speaking to that. But it is so much work, and a lot of people don't understand even something as simple as the time when church starts and what our usual nap time is. It is a big deal. The baby is going to get fussy when it is time for her rest. It's time for her nap. She gets tired, anxious, overly irritated, easily irritated, and all of that. When to you, somebody who doesn't know what her routine is, she must seem like a rude child. And I think that is so unfair. And for somebody who is not as broad as mine, you put that on them head and say, hey, I'm not going back to that place. You get what I mean? So I think this is something we can all learn from, even from the standpoint of the parent, in terms of how we deal with it, but also, is it that we're going to decide to find another space or are comfortable? Or are we dealing with people who are understanding enough to know that, all right, this is probably your opinion, but this may very well be so much of a traditional belief that we can do some tweaks to. So we are raising the children to be, respectable and to be reverent, which is very important. But how do we do that? And how do we treat this when it comes to different age groups, when it comes to different types of children, when it comes to, all of those things, all of those factors? How do we treat the human side of the church? How do we treat the human side of the church? How do we look at how much it took to get the child ready to come to church? So much so that the parent is so tired by the time they get to church. More so if they have more than one child, But understanding that your style of parenting may very well be different from how people parent these days and how somebody else parents, because there are a lot of us who would have taken on the types of parenting that were used to raise us, which is fine, that's your choice. But understand that not everyone parents the same way, and when they get to church, they're still parents. They don't transform into this solely spiritual being. They are still human, and it is something that children will have to learn as we go along. But I think we need to find a common ground, understanding how mentally burdensome this can be on the mother, on the parent. It may very well be a father who is taking care of the children, who is a single father. But as you know, I focus a lot on motherhood here. And, I know that at this point there may very well be people who are saying, is it that me stop coming to church? Which is crazy. But understandably, people are thinking that, but I must be frank, that's really one of the reasons I haven't been going to face-to-face church, even as the country or the world has opened up recently. It is really a lot. It is really a lot to deal with, and it is something I never really thought of deeply until becoming a mother. There are so many things that I never really thought about deeply before becoming a mother, and so many things look so different on this side. Trust me, so many things look so different from, even a situation such as your child acting out or acting in a particular way in public, totally different from the way you have trained them or you are raising them at home, and that reflecting on you as though you aren't doing a good job as a mom. Though that is somebody else's perception, and I hope you are able to work on understanding that it's not worth it for you to really process that too deeply, because the work you're doing at home, and understanding that there are people out there who absolutely have no idea of how to be emotionally intelligent, of how to just say nothing sometimes even if you think it, or even how to express themselves in a particular way, sharing their opinion but doing it in a way that won't hurt the next person or that sort of thing. So we may be out, for example, we may be in church, and I may be saying something to Naya, and she just decides that on that day she wants to say to me, no mommy, no, I don't want to do that. And for you it may seem as though I'm allowing the child to rule me, but honestly, when that happens, sometimes when she acts a particular way in public, I'm literally shocked. I'm like, is this my child? Mind you, sometimes at home she does tell me no. Which 2-year-old don't tell you no? I don't know, maybe you have a very perfect child, and the children are so different, but my child tells me no a lot of times. My child goes beyond what I would love for her to do a lot of times. She surprises me in public a lot of times, and people stare at me a lot of times. But hey, guess what? It is something I'm working on managing, and I'm hoping that there are other mothers out there who are able to, as I said, don't over-process certain things. But I'm also hoping that the spaces you choose to go in will be accommodating. And this may be something we'll have to work on for generations, for years to come. But I just believe that there are some spaces that we can start with that I believe we can at least show that we have the interest in adapting or changing or restructuring how we do things. And one of them, I believe, is the church. So this is a charge to all the churches out there. Anybody watching this, if you're a part of a church, if you're a mother, a parent, a sister, a relative, somebody, you must have a toddler in your family. You are helping to raise a child. You are a godparent, whatever it is. I think this is something that anybody or everybody can appreciate or at least analyze or give your opinion on. What is it like when you take your toddler to church? What is it like when you're at church and you see other kids acting what a particular way? What are your opinions? Everyone may not agree with it, but these are my experiences. I've just been a mother for 2 years, and this is how I'm feeling at this time. I'd rather stay home and join a virtual church sometimes. So I'm speaking particularly for those days, for those Sundays when I don't have all the physical help that I think I will need to ensure that we pull this off. If it is a weekend when everybody is home and we have the whole family going, no problem. But I'm thinking of even a single mother who doesn't have that sort of help. I'm thinking of a mother who, is she alone? When she goes to church and her child or children decide to be typically children, how does she manage? How does she deal with that mentally when the expectations are that you are coming to church and so your children are supposed to, the moment they get to the doorway, they're going to transform into these robots, or they're going to transform into these well-mannered children because God is here and where He is holy. Yes, where He is holy. Where He is holy. But we are human as well as spiritual. And I think if we want to talk about the way forward when it comes to Christianity, when we want to talk about the way forward when it comes to the church, I think this is a big part of it. I think this is a big part of it. I believe we can help to nurture and parent our children better, understanding that the church is also a part of that socialization process. The church is also a part of the parenting of the child. For those of us who are Christians and believe in growing up our children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, this is very, very important to us. We want to bring our children to church, but I don't know who else is having this kind of concern. But for me, I'd love for our churches to be more accommodating. It doesn't mean that you have to have one of those huge mansion-looking churches. There may be a space where you can transform into that being the space for the babies, for the toddlers, for the infants. The ones who aren't there yet in terms of understanding that when somebody is praying, they sit still. When I'm praying, my daughter closes her eyes, but sometimes when I open my eye, I see her, when I open her, she getting up to do something else because after I reach a minute into the prayer, she lose interest, she lose, she attention span. You understand what I mean? So for me, it is humanizing church. It is humanizing Christianity. It is understanding that in order for us to reach where we want to go in that wholesome way, we need to be human. And for me, it starts with how we help our mothers really cope, even in the church setting. And I'm willing to help, but for now, that's one of my greatest concerns. And while I continue to raise my daughter, while we continue to parent, being guided by God and His principles, I'm hoping to be able to be more comfortable when I go to fellowship with my brothers and sisters. Wherever I decide to visit, it doesn't have to be my home church. There are so many other churches I've gone to that I still get that sense of not there yet. And I'm hoping others may be able to see this and think about it, bring it to your church leaders, bring it to your colleagues, whomever it is. Because I believe that in so many public spaces, we're not ready yet when it comes to when it comes to accommodating mothers and understanding that attending an event or a particular space is so different for a mother than it is for somebody who isn't a parent. It is so different for a parent than a non-parent. There's so many things you have to think about, and we need to try to make things and places more accommodating for parents. We really need to. When you are going out, all you have to think about, you grab your handbag and you go. A parent has to pack everything for the child, a lot of times forgetting everything for themselves, and so there's already so much on the parents' plate that when they actually get to a particular space, they need to be as close as possible to comfortable, understanding that others understand what they may be going through, understanding their concerns, not to be judgmental, to maybe even lend a hand at times. And I believe one of the most important places where this needs to happen, where there needs to be a greater focus, is the church. I really love to hear what your comments are on this, what your experiences are on this, and I look forward to those comments in the comment section below. So, as I said, you don't have to necessarily agree with what I'm saying, but I love to hear what your opinions are. So yeah, I'm still a Christian. I am a Christian. I am still a believer in Jesus Christ, in God being the Savior and ruler of my life. But these are the reasons I have not been going to church as often. Thank you so very much for taking the time to stop by, to watch this video. Don't forget to check out my previous videos as well. And I'll certainly see you in the next one. Bye!